Look, let's jump right in. We're talking about a book called Thinking in Bets. And listen, Thinking in Bets is absolutely not about gambling. Thinking in Bets is about learning how to live inside the fog of uncertainty. What author Annie Duke is doing here is basically handing you a scalpel. This book cuts right through the lie you were taught to respect about how we evaluate our lives and our decisions. The core pain exposed in Thinking in Bets is incredibly visceral. Annie Duke points out that you keep reopening old choices like crime scenes because the result feels like evidence. And that right there, that's the exhaustion she's targeting. You're capable, you're strategic, but you're so incredibly tired because you keep turning one single outcome into a permanent mirror. I want you to name the decision you still punish yourself for. Not the obvious mistake. I mean the one with a bad result that you literally replay in your head at night. The one that turned your stomach into a courtroom. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what did that choice actually look like before the ending arrived? Not after everyone had their opinions, not once the loss had a face, but before. Here's the hard truth. The scoreboard reports a result. It does not reveal the decision. Constantly outcome checking turns one completely random result into a permanent verdict on your intelligence. You see, a choice can be perfectly good and still lose, just like a choice can be absolutely terrible and still win. Think about looking at a scoreboard after the whistle blows. It's loud, it's final, it feels almost moral, but it cannot show the wind. It cannot show the injury or the odds before the play, and it definitely cannot show the tiny, random bounce that literally nobody planned for. I know you've probably said this to yourself. A good decision should lead to a good result. It sounds so responsible, right? You just want a clean cause and effect. I really wish it were true. But we have to walk this logic all the way to its collapse. Look, if every single bad result means you just have bad judgment, then luck, timing, and missing information have absolutely no place in your worldview. You become the sole owner of everything, which makes you impossible to teach. Which brings us to the core concept here, resulting. Judging your decision quality entirely by the outcome quality. While thinkers like Kahneman expose the machinery of bias, and Tetlock shows how disciplined forecasters update their beliefs, this book exposes how we build a lazy courtroom after the result arrives. We prosecute ourselves instead of objectively reviewing the decision. We use the ending to redraw the beginning. So here is the first major trap. Option 1, blame yourself and learn the completely wrong lesson. Option 2, forgive yourself and learn absolutely nothing. Choose. Both of these might feel like maturity, but both protect the exact same misunderstanding. Both of them pretend that the result knows more than the decision did. The next move is a bit colder, but it's exactly what we need. It's a practice called decision hygiene. Think of it like this. Column 1 is your process. Column 2 is your outcome. You must actively log your evidence and your odds before the world answers. Never let the outcome column alone rewrite your process column. The most responsible people out there often punish themselves for what is essentially just noise. We need to give responsibility a better target. The model, not the wound. Let's step back for a moment and really think about this. Every single belief is already a bet. You might not call it a bet, but your body does. You spend time on a project because you bet it's going to matter. You trust someone because you bet the pattern of their behavior will hold. None of these choices ever comes with full light. And here is our anchor for this whole idea. A fog scoreboard can show a number, but it cannot show reality. The number itself might be true, but the story you wrap around it might be completely false. Just watch how this plays out across entirely different worlds. Think about an athlete saying a score versus a chef tasting a sauce. Both worlds teach the exact same thing. A single signal can be real, yet totally incomplete. The sauce might taste wrong, and that definitely matters, but it might be the salt or the heat, the timing, maybe even the pan. The mature chef does not become the sauce, just like the mature strategist does not become the outcome. The absolute rule of the table is simply this: accuracy outranks ego. Drawing on the author's extensive poker background, we learn that certainty blocks learning. You can make the mathematically right call and still lose the hand. The real danger is building your identity from one single pile of chips. You need to build a truth-seeking group around you, where victory laps are banned, because even a lucky win deserves rigorous review. Without that, success just becomes a disguise. Okay, let's get highly practical. Before making a choice, you need to write down 3 things. What do I believe? How sure am I? What would make me wrong? This is your backcasting and pre-mortem framework. You have to price the risk before you make the bet, No softening the blow. Actually write it down. Then, after the result arrives, write down 3 more things. What happened? What did I control? What did chance touch? This clean review structure puts the choice right back into its time-stamped world. A world with partial facts, with pressure, with missing data. Doing a review without acknowledging that original timestamp, that's just moral feeder. Which leads us straight to our second trap. Option 1, stay certain and feel safe. Option 2, admit uncertainty and feel completely exposed. Choose. Both of these options still worship certainty. Rewriting history after a loss, telling yourself, oh, I should have known, that is just memory laundering. You're removing the very uncertainty that made the choice real in the first place. The much cleaner move is active uncertainty. You act with the odds in plain view, you keep a record, and you update when the evidence actually deserves it. We are at the absolute core of this book now, and I have to ask you something kind of difficult. What result are you still treating as proof of who you are? This isn't what we want to find, but some of your deepest pain came from perfectly good bets that simply lost. You didn't lack character, you just didn't have the ending yet. Return to that decision you named at the start, the one that keeps reopening in your mind. Do not excuse it, but please do not crush yourself with it either. Ask a better question. What was the bet? The scoreboard was never the mirror. It was a noisy instrument. Useful? Yes. Sacred? Absolutely not. True freedom isn't having control over the result. Freedom is having cleaner contact with uncertainty. So the crucial takeaway here is that you do not need a brand new identity. You just need a much cleaner feedback loop. Cultures and lives decay when they reward confident stories over honest odds. We're building a practice where you make your invisible bets visible. Go to upgowise.com, access your growth map, make your next bet visible before the world ever has a chance to answer. Stop worshiping the scoreboard. Write your odds before results, now.